What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI, and I got breaking news. The winner of the Iowa caucus is me. I won. I did it, guys. I know. It's amazing. I pulled it off. Um, by the way, my victory speech holds as much weight as anyone else who gave a victory speech tonight because we still have no idea. I waited forever to do this damn video because I thought, hey, we're going to figure it out. No. And the Democratic Party is saying we might know by tomorrow. We don't know. Um, we're going to have the State of the Union address tomorrow, so are we going to be really paying attention to it? I don't know. You got a weird Iowa caucus situation, or you got an impeached president doing a State of the Union. Great time to be an American, right? No, the big winner of the Iowa caucus was the state of Florida. Because the state of Florida can now go, hey, you guys remember Iowa? Yeah. No, so we had a lot of people, a lot of candidates giving rallying speeches at the end. And only two or three of them I felt really gave victory speeches. And only one of them announced it was a victory speech. And that was Mayor Pete. He said that they continue on to New Hampshire victorious and that they shocked the world. It's going to look really bad on him, I think, if he doesn't win. Probably not. I mean, honestly, there's probably going to be enough people who are going to say, well, he came in the top three. And I do believe he did come in the top three. I think, obviously, and it's not my bias saying this, I believe Bernie Sanders came in the top three. There was a different energy about the Bernie Sanders campaign, and there was even people like one of his surrogates, Nina Turner, wanted to wait to announce it. So for anyone who has been under a rock, and I apologize, I feel like you guys have been on this journey with me tonight. Um, for anyone who has been under a rock, doesn't know what happened, the Iowa caucus, usually by like 10 o'clock, they know pretty much who won and who lost. There's always a little bit of discrepancy. Um, like in 2016, Hillary ended up winning by a couple points. I think like .03 or something like that. But we knew that night, like around midnight, we knew for sure. Um, but what happened is they did their caucusing like they do, and that took an usually long amount of time. And then we heard nothing. And it was 0%. And we're hearing on mainstream media, well, at this point, we usually know about 70%. At this point, at 10 o'clock p.m., we usually have about 80% confirmed. Right now, we have 0. And they kept giving these updates. Like the Democratic Party would call in and they'd say, hey, we have 25% of it confirmed, and we're going to make a statement soon. We're just doing quality control. They kept saying quality control, which as a Bernie fan, I was like, oh, that means fuck Bernie. That means put a fist on the chairs of all Bernie supporters. Great. Um, but we never really heard anything. And in fact, that 25% that they said, we never got released. Then at some point, as the only time I really do feel bad for these mainstream media guys is as they're trying to ad lib. Um, they were in about a 2 hour tailspin of just talking about past caucuses and what ifs and what outs. The Democratic Party had kind of a little powwow with the major Democratic candidates. And then they all came out and did these rally speeches. And again, you could kind of get an idea. Now, if you have some friends in politics like I do, you you have an idea. Again, nothing's confirmed, and that's the thing. So when I say this, it's not valid at all. It is no, it comes from some reliable sources, but nothing's been confirmed. Um, it looks like the top three, and that's all I can give you is top three. I don't know one, two, or three. Like I said, Buttigieg, Sanders, and Warren. which means um, Joe Biden not top three. And the Biden campaign did make a stink about this whole delay and it being held up, and I don't blame him. Honestly, I would too. I would be very curious what happened because there again, like we were saying, quality control. Fuck Bernie. If you're on the Biden team, you're like, well, no, they were fucking us, you know. So I get the concern and the worry, but still, we're not hearing anything regardless. I will say this: much of the attention started turning to the excuses that the Democratic Party was using, and this is where we get to the main story of the night that you're not going to hear it in most places unless you're, um, pretty up to date on the news, because I feel like this is one that's going to be just covered over really quick. Um, but they started talking about the issues that was happening. Oh, and was there a hacking situation? Was there um, uh, an app crashing? And you kept hearing about this app, this mobile app, this mobile app. And I talked about this mobile app I think it was a couple weeks ago. The more and more you start hearing about this mobile app. Well, The Intercept released a story that was confirmed by Huffington Post that I had actually also heard from a really credible source. And the mobile app the Democratic Party was using was developed by a company called Shadow. And this is untested, and they are part of, they're supported by a super PAC. Um, but it gets worse than that. Again, they're supposed to be a third party, but they're not sponsored by a super PAC, a Democratic super PAC. But the worst part of it is we found out that one of the candidates actually donated money to this company who developed this app that counts votes. A little bit of, I don't know, conflict of interest. And that candidate was Mayor Pete. The Pete for President, I believe, is the name of this foundation. They donated $21,000 to Shadow. And that is the big takeaway. I wanted to bring up some pictures that show anything about it. Almost impossible. Couldn't find anything. The company, anything like that. And like I said, I've been up all night, so this is what you get. But this is something definitely worth looking into. I don't think the mainstream media or anyone else is going to talk about this. This is incredibly important, especially if the DNC wants to keep using this app. They need to, for one, the DNC would not explain or say who to develop this app. They just kept tight-lip about it. And I think it's because once that name got out, the people started looking about who funded that company. And yeah, it looks very much so that Mayor Pete Buttigieg had a fairly strong hand in that company. That's just wrong. I mean, that's wrong on so many levels. Like, look, I mean, Sanders did well, and I think Sanders will continue to do well. This whole delay, it screws every candidate, including Mayor Pete. Honestly, if you won tonight, you got this buzz about you. Like, oh my God, they won Iowa. They're gonna keep moving. And if you watch the caucusing, you could even tell that just the probability of winning changed a lot of people's minds. I don't know how many people I saw, and granted, it's with CNN, but they were talking to a lot of people, and they were like, oh, well, I wanted to caucus for Klobuchar, but I don't think she's viable. So I'm going to go for this person or that person. But just that notion will make you vote different. Not everyone, but a majority of people. And so winning Iowa is a huge boost for your campaign. The delegates are important too, but not nearly as important as the actual media boost of it. And nobody's going to get it really. It kind of just went away. So that's a huge problem coming out of it. But again, we need to find out more about Shadow. I mean, for me, this is a disqualifier for Buttigieg. Yeah, look, you can say all sorts of offensive things, talk to offensive people, but this is truly a disqualifier. You funded the company who counts the votes. That it's not right that right now we have two guys, Steyer and Bloomberg who are outright just trying to buy the presidency. We have a president who his own party says, yeah, we think he's guilty, but we don't give a shit. And now we're allowing this. We're allowing a candidate in an election to be able to fund the company to count the votes. Like, at some point, we have got to stop, pull ourselves back, and say, look, either this whole democracy thing is a good thing and we want to preserve it, or hey, it was a good experiment while it lasts. Fuck it, let's become a dictatorship. Because it's one or the two. We can't act like we have a democracy when we let this kind of shit happen. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think about this whole story. Like I said, it's the big one of the night. I mean, whoever won Iowa, it's important, of course, but not nearly as important as this. I would definitely look up if you're curious about this story. It was one of the last things that was posted on the Huffington Post Twitter. Hopefully, The Intercept and Huffington Post come out with something more concrete by the morning. But anyway, again, love to hear your guys' opinion on Iowa, how you thought this affected the candidates, how you thought this affected you as a Democratic voter, if you are one. If you're a conservative voter, feel free to laugh at, at the Democrats and what happened to us. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a great night.